Right. The one question that I've talked to Muslims about many different times, and I've never been able to receive a single response from any of them with any actual like emphatic answer to, is this. Before I hit it though, I want to preface this by saying I love my Muslim friends to death. I love you all. I would literally take a bullet for you. But with that being said, I have to look at what your words in your book say and then ask questions based upon what I see those words saying. So anyways, I'm going to pull up the Quran and I'm going to read from the Quran so that you can see just what the Quran itself says, okay? So that you know that I'm not adding to something or subtracting something from this. I also want to say, whenever I speak to people who are Muslims and say, hey, I don't speak Arabic. Could I still go to heaven one day? And can I still understand can I still understand the Quran perfectly? Every single one of them say, yes, you have no problem. You can always be able to understand the book equally as well. You'll be perfectly fine. Everyone, 100% of them have said that. And then if I ever say, I see something that's contradictory in your words, minutes later, they will immediately tell me that I cannot anymore understand the book correctly because I don't speak Arabic. So that's the first contradiction. Whenever I bring up this point I'm about to bring up, I always hear. But no one's ever able to actually ever answer my question. Nobody also is able to tell me, hey, no, what you're actually believing about this is actually incorrect. Here it is. Quran 3, verses 3 and 4. It says, He has sent down upon you, O Muhammad, the book in truth, confirming what was before. And he revealed the Torah and the gospel before as guidance for the people, and he revealed the Quran. So what it's saying here is the Quran is saying that the Bible, the Holy Bible that Christians read, is actually confirming the things that are said about Allah himself. About Muhammad himself, that Muhammad's words about Allah, I should say, are actually correct. That's what this passage right here is saying. And it specifies the Torah, which if you did not know are the first 5 books of the Bible. It's Genesis, Leviticus, Exodus, Deuteronomy, and Numbers. And also the gospel. The gospel is Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. These are the 4 gospels that are mentioned in our New Testament Bible as Christians. Now, before I even go into the real issues I have, I just want to explain what the word gospel means. Okay? This is the first thing that is perplexing that nobody's able to answer for me. The word gospel means good news, okay? Good news about what is the question that is begged from this. What is the good news? What good news are you referring to? Well, this is what the good news is. The good news is that you are a sinner. You have failed to follow the laws of Allah, the laws of Yahweh. You have failed to follow either one of their rules. And for that, you deserve punishment for what you've done. Just like if a judge in a courtroom, you said, hey, I murdered a person, and they said, awesome, well, you deserve to go to life sentence without parole. Your response would be not, well, I've done a lot of good things, though. You can't just look at the bad thing I've done. In a court of law, they would say, no, we don't care what good things you've done. You've done something tremendously wrong, and that is what you're being judged for in this moment. In the very same way, the God of the universe, Yahweh, is going to judge in the exact same way. He is going to judge the world in righteousness one day, look at what you've done wrong, and he's going to judge you in accordance to that. And that is not a good look for people of all religions, Christians, atheists, agnostics, Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, etc. So what's the good news? That's the bad news. That's really bad news. The good news is God, being rich in mercy, showed his love for us in this, that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us, right? Christ died for us in the midst of us being sinners. The entirety of this good news thing is Ephesians 2:8-9. For it is by grace that you have been saved by faith, not of your own works, lest any man could boast, but it is rather a free gift of God unto salvation. The good news is the fact that you have failed. Jesus paid that fine for you on the cross. Just like somebody can come into a court today and say, hey, your debt has been paid because they paid the fine for somebody else. That's what Jesus did with his life's blood on the cross. 2,000 years ago, he died on a cross himself. Nobody took his place. Nobody switched into his place for him. And he died for us who did not deserve it so that we could be in right relation with God. He went into the courtroom and paid the fine so that we could walk out of that courtroom guilt-free because of the fine was paid by another. That person was Jesus. The good news is that you're a sinner and you have a desperate need for help, and Jesus came in and gave you that help when you didn't deserve it anyways. That's the beauty of grace. And now the Father wants to have an intimate, a personal relationship with you. He sees you as as his child. He sees you as his child. If you're born again, I should say. If you've given your life to Jesus, then you have been saved from everything that you have ever done. You've been forgiven of those things, and now you are seen as a child of God, just like any and everybody else is. That's what the word gospel means. Okay? Now, I've already probably said multiple things as a Muslim that you are saying, well, we don't agree with that, or I don't believe that. Here's the challenge. And I'll actually just add this other one in here. This is the really pointed one that I wanted to get at anyways. When you look in Scripture, in John chapter 10, Jesus says some challenging words. He says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And nobody comes to the Father except but by me. The only way that you can meet the Father one day in heaven is through Jesus. Now, whenever I say that to a Muslim, their response always is two things. We see every single prophet the same. Muhammad, Jesus, etc., Moses, etc. That's the first thing they'll say. Second thing they'll say is that the Bible's been made corrupt. Okay, two things about that. First thing, again, your book tells us to read the Gospels in the Torah. And in the Torah, no one I've talked to says that the Torah is wrong. Well, in Torah, Genesis 3, verse 15, says that Yahweh is saying that there will be one who comes and crushes the head of the snake, and he will come around and bite his heel, but the snake will be defeated. That right there is literally the story of Jesus. Jesus goes back in the New Testament in John chapter 3 and specifies that that is him who's doing that. Okay? So your Torah says the exact same thing that the Gospels say, right? So there's the first part. The second part is you can say all this stuff about how the Gospel has been twisted and manipulated and all those things. If that's true, then that means that the Torah the Quran that you read is incorrect. Because if it was correct, it wouldn't tell you to do something that is actually wrong. So here's your challenge. Either the Gospel is right because the Gospel says it's right, the Gospel is right because the Quran says it's right, or the Gospel is wrong, but the Quran still says it's right, which still makes the Quran wrong because the Quran's telling you something that you shouldn't be doing in the first place. You're reading something that's a false book, so the Quran's either false or the Quran's right, telling you that the Gospels are right. And if the Gospels are right, it tells you that the Quran is wrong because the Quran says the complete opposite of Jesus being the way, the truth, and the life, and nobody coming to the Father except through him. So you're in a real dilemma here. And either way, if you want to say, well, I believe that the Gospels are not true, I believe that they've been edited, that there's errors in them, etc., the word gospel means Jesus died on the cross for the sins of the world. That's literally what the word gospel means, the good news. That's what the good news means. It's the actual definition of the good news. No atheist, no Hindu, no Buddhist ever disagrees Jesus dying on a cross. None of them do. None of them do. And even if they did, again, the word gospel means that. So regardless of how you slice it, the Quran is telling you to do something that is counterintuitive to what the Quran tells you to do in other places. You have to challenge and wrestle with that. Again, my point is not to be right. My point is not to shame you. My point is not to embarrass you. I don't win any money from this. My YouTube channel is not monetized. I don't make any money from this. I deeply care about the salvations of the people who I'm speaking to. And you are one of those people. And right now you stand in a place that is condemned in the eyes of not only Muhammad, but also of the Bible. I encourage you, I challenge you to read these words, read the words of Jesus, actually read the Gospels, because this is the other challenge I come to when I'm talking to Muslims. I've never spoken to a Muslim in my life who has ever read the Gospels, all four Gospels. Now again, I'm not saying none of them ever have, I'm just saying I have never spoken to one who has. They've never read the Gospels. If you would read the Gospels, you would understand that there is a God out there who loves you so dearly, that from the beginning, it was in his design of this thing to make sure that he could bring you back to right relationship with him. And if you would just turn from your ways, turn from your beliefs, and not just listen to what some other teacher says, but listen to what Jesus says, it will change everything about your life, and it will bring you to a place where you can actually meet Jesus for real and have eternal life with him as well. Love you all, appreciate you all. Chat with you soon.